Creed is the first Rocky movie in the Rocky franchise to not have Rocky in it. Let's talk about it. So, this is actually an interesting movie because this is the first Rocky movie to not have Stallone or Rocky in it. And it's weird because I actually think this movie works without Rocky or Stallone. I know that's controversial. I know that it's going to upset a lot of people, but I think that this movie works without Rocky. It could have been a lot better with Rocky, but it works without him. So let's talk about why. Let's just really quickly. Let's talk about why Rocky and Stallone are not in this movie. So Stallone's actually having a lot of problems with the people that own Rocky. A lot of people are wondering, well, doesn't Stallone have the rights to Rocky? Supposedly, back in 1985, when like Rocky 4 came out, he sold the rights to MGM Studios. So he has not had the rights to Rocky in a long time. If that's true, he hasn't had the rights to Rocky in a long time. And so he's having a lot of problems with the people that have the rights to Rocky and own the rights to Rocky. He seems to hate the people that own the rights to Rocky. He doesn't hate Michael B. Jordan. He doesn't hate some of the other people that worked on Creed 3. He just hates some of the people that work on, that not worked on it, but worked on Creed 3. It's some of the specific people that worked on Creed 3 and own the rights to Rocky. He hates those people and will never work with them. And he even said, he's like, if Michael B. Jordan wants like to make another movie, he wants to make a Creed 4, and those people are not involved in it, he said, I will go ahead and I'll join Michael B. Jordan for another movie. He said, but it cannot have those people involved in it, if that makes sense. And another reason is that I don't think this was really a Rocky movie. I do hope they kind of George Lucas it. I don't like what George Lucas did to Star Wars, but I think they could definitely George Lucas this movie to fix it up a little bit. If Stallone makes up, and you know what I mean, if Stallone and the other guys get on better terms and all that, then I think that this would be good if they could George Lucas the movie. What I mean by that is adding more scenes like later on after the movie comes out, like add some extra scenes here and there to kind of add Stallone into the movie. I think that can work. So this movie is really more of a Creed movie. Like, there's this new villain, and there's a lot of dive into Adonis. There's a lot of focus on Adonis, his family, Adonis, and his backstory, his like past. And I honestly don't think like Rocky really fits into that much. He like if you did a movie about Drago, Rocky, not Rocky 2, like Creed 2. Like Creed 2 had Victor Drago and Ivan Drago. You could not do a movie like that without Sylvester Stallone and Rocky. But this is a movie that doesn't have those characters, or it does have one of those characters. It does have Victor, but there's not a major focus on them. So, like, I think you should definitely, like, because it is more of a Creed movie, I feel like you don't fully need Rocky in it. But if it was a movie that had to do with Clubber Lang, or if it had to do, yeah, Clubber Lang's not in this movie. If it had to do with Clubber Lang or Ivan Drago, then I feel like you need to have Rocky. But because this movie has to do with Creed's story, this really is Creed's story. It doesn't have to have Rocky in it. Another thing is, like, I told my dad this. I said, you cannot pass the torch to somebody. The whole like first two Creed movies were about passing the torch to somebody else. You cannot pass the torch to somebody if you're still holding on to the torch. Do you understand? You can't do that. You need to come full circle. You need to give it to somebody else. You need to pass it on at some point. I think this movie, there's two places where I think they should have included Rocky. I'll try. I know we're already like 4 minutes in. Let me try to get through this, okay? There are two places where I think they could have included Rocky. The movie opens with a championship boxing match, and I think if they had included like Rocky just watching not the movie, but if he was watching the fight on a TV, or if he was like just outside the ring, something like that, it would have been fine. And the other part is like in the training montage or something like that. If Adonis had been like, if he called Rocky and he said, "Hey Rocky, like I this is my own battle, but I need some advice. What can I do? What are some, you know what I mean? Like, how do I beat this guy? I'm not asking you to come down to California to help me, but how do I beat this guy?" Something like that would have been cool as well. Also, the montage just didn't like it didn't go as hard as the other montages, if I'm being honest. It just was not as good as the other ones. Like, it had a lot of cool things in it, but like with the other ones, it was just so much better because they had the Rocky style, you know? You had like the champion of the world cheering you on, and here it didn't feel the same. Like all you need to do to fix that problem though, all you need to do is later on add a scene of Stallone like with this family watching the fight, like the final fight or something like that, watching it on a TV and him rooting on Adonis, something like that. That's all you need to do to really fix that problem. But yeah, that's basically it when it comes to like Rocky and where they could have included him. Other than that, I don't think there were a lot of places to include him in this movie. So let's talk about the actual movie itself, because I mean we're already like 5 minutes in, we haven't even talked about the movie. So the movie is about Creed, of course, Adonis. Adonis wins the championship title. He becomes champion of the world, and he retires. And also keep in mind that Rocky, like after beating Apollo and like beating some other opponents, he wanted to retire. He did not want to go like on fighting that much. He wanted to end on a good note. So yeah, it's not out of the question for Creed to want to retire as well. So this takes place years after after Rocky 2. Creed is now retired. He has his own boxing brand for like you know what I mean? He's got his own boxing equipment brand. Uh he's got a kid now, which I think the kid is a really likable character. I like that she's a deaf character, and I think the actress is also deaf. But I like how she has a lot of personality. There's a lot of personality in that character that they get away with like visuals and stuff. I like that. And yeah, so Creed's doing just fine. He's a millionaire now. He's doing a lot, really, really good. He's got his own brand. His wife's making music. He's got a kid. Everything's going great for Creed right now. And so this person from his past shows up. His name is Damien. And if you remember, like in not Rocky, in Creed 1, Adonis had a really rocky childhood and a really rocky teenhood, if that makes sense. He was getting mixed up with the wrong kind of people. He had friends that were not really good friends, that kind of thing. He used to be like a gangster, if you know what I mean. And so basically, one of his friends named Damien from that era of his life returns. He's one of those kind of people, one of the people that you just don't want to be around anymore. He's not a good person to be around. And so in his past, Adonis actually was in some way the reason why Damien, which I haven't said this yet, but Damien got arrested in Adonis's past. Like Damien, he had gotten arrested and he got out of jail, and Adonis was sort of responsible for that. But Damien, he shows up at after 20 years or something. He shows up at Adonis's gym and he says, "Hey, Adonis, you remember me?" And Adonis does remember, and he feels obligated and he feels responsible to sort of like, he feels like he owes Damien to at least like give him some, you know what I mean? Give him some help, you know what I mean? Trying to get back on his feet kind of thing. Help him catch up with the world sort of thing. And basically Damien asks Adonis, he says, "Hey, like," because also I forgot to mention this as well. Damien was planning on being the best boxer. Like he wanted to be a boxer when he grew up. He and Adonis both wanted to be boxers, but Damien was like, he wanted to be it really badly. He wanted the title. He wanted to be champion. He had the eye of the tiger as a kid, but because he was locked up in prison, he never got his chance to actually fulfill that dream. And so Adonis feels like he owes it to Damien to help him out, to give him a chance. And Damien asks him, he says, "Hey man, like you, Rocky, this other guy that you're training, y'all are all getting that championship, you know what I mean? Y'all all got that once in a lifetime championship offer." He's like, "Can you do that for me?" So Adonis, again, feeling like he owes Damien, he gives Damien a shot at the title. Not fighting Adonis, but fighting somebody else. He gives him a shot at the title, and Damien wins. And eventually, though, Adonis kind of opens up a Pandora's box that was closed by bringing Damien and putting him under his wing, kind of thing. That ended up unleashing a monster, and so eventually Damien gets kind of crazy with power, and there's a lot of stuff that happens. Damien starts to do bad things, and because he has a level of power, and it's up to Adonis to put Damien back in his place and to stop him from continuing his rampage and stuff like that. And one thing I will say about this movie that I think is really good is the villain. Like, you can definitely tell that Adonis and Damien, also Jonathan Majors, good actor. I've never seen him in anything else, but good actor. You could definitely tell that this guy, like, he seems like the kind of guy who's been not traumatized by prison, but prison definitely changed him. Like, he could have grown up to be a much better person, but you know what I mean? He's kind of a broken person. And I like that you can definitely tell that they used to be friends when they were kids. The chemistry is there, like, you know what I mean? They like, you could definitely tell that, like, hey, these two characters, they look like they've been friends well, they used to be friends for a long time, you know? And I like the development with Damien as well. I feel like a lot of this one problem I don't really have. Like, one problem that I do have with old Rocky villains is a lot of them were underdeveloped. The Creed villains are getting more and more development, which is cool. I like that. I like I like just like I like Creed's family. I like a lot of these characters. I like Damien a lot. Really cool villain. And I love how he fights dirty. There's a spoiler warning, but there is a fight where he fights dirty, and it kind of got you scared because it was like, man, this guy, because he's from the prison, right? This guy can fight dirty and he knows how to get away with it. That was kind of scary. One of the problems that I have with that though is that, like, he fights dirty in a couple of fights, but like in the final fight with Creed, he never fights dirty. And I thought that that was like a really cool thing, like having him fight dirty. I thought, hey man, like that could be like, hey man, like Creed, like you get kind of worried for Creed. Like, this guy's not, he's gonna fight dirty, but he actually doesn't fight dirty in the final fight. Maybe that's supposed to mean something, but I was kind of hoping he would. It would have made him a little different than the rest of the characters in the Rocky, the rest of the villains in the Rocky franchise. Like, Clubber Lang and Ivan Drago are deadly, but they're not gonna fight dirty. They have a sense of honor to them. Like, this guy will fight dirty, like, he gets away with elbow strikes, he gets away with a lot of other stuff. Like, I wish they would have done a little more of that in the finale. I do like a lot of the characters in this movie. I like Creed's daughter. I like his wife. Like, they're all likable characters. They're all really good characters. They're all like enjoyable characters too. So it's not like, oh, you don't have Stallone, you don't have all these other Rocky characters. You know what I mean? Like, nah, you're fine. This movie holds up on its own. It's hard to say if this is the best like Creed movie. I like all the Creed movies, but I'm not really sure. I would have to rewatch them all like back to back to figure out which one's the best. Because this one doesn't have Stallone in it, so is it? You know what I mean? It's kind of hard. You could point at Rocky 1 or 2, not Rocky, Creed 1 or 2 being the best. It's kind of hard. There is one other thing, like, I would recommend you guys check this out, by the way. I'm not trying to spoil too much. I think I did, though. So there is one more thing before we wrap up this video that I do really like about this movie was I like that like Michael B. Jordan was inspired by anime for this movie. I love the way that this movie feels. Like, the first, I think, 5 Rocky movies were like exaggerated boxing. Like, that the first 5 Rocky movies were obviously not boxing, but they were exaggerated boxing. Then Rocky Balboa to like Creed 2 was like realistic boxing. This one is kind of back to exaggerated boxing, but more like fantasized boxing. There's a lot of slow motion shots and combos and I love the scene in the final battle. There's a scene in the final battle, but I feel like this is also like a double-edged sword. There's a scene in the final battle where, like, um Damien and Creed, they're fighting, and the entire audience goes silent, and it's nothing but black. Like, there's like just shadows there or something like that. There's nobody there, just nobody there. Everything's dark except for the ring and the opponent. And I love it. There's no music playing. All you hear is all you hear is the punching and the dodging. You know what I mean? That's all you hear. I love that because it shows that there's nobody but the opponent and you. I love that. That's awesome. It's like there's only 2 guys in this thing. There's nobody else watching you. Just you two fighting. I loved that imagery. There's a lot of like cool not exaggerated, but like anime imagery, if that makes sense. But then again, I also didn't like it too much because I liked the part where they were like everything went silent and it just showed the 2 fighters fighting. I was not a fan of the. I was not a fan though. Like, Adonis gets knocked back into the ropes, and then the ropes turn into like a prison cell. Like, I guess that could work, but it feels a little weird seeing so much like CGI on the screen in a Rocky movie. It's weird. There's other stuff like that in the movie, but I do love that first effect where it's like it's just 2 people fighting, nothing else, just you two in the ring. I loved that. I'm not really sure if there's anything else I love about this movie. There is a lot of good things about this movie. I would have loved to see Rocky in this movie. I love the story too. This movie is not a repeat of Rocky 3 or Rocky 4. It's not a repeat. It is a new story, so don't expect it to be a repeat of any of the other movies. Um I don't think there's anything else I want to say about this movie. I love this movie. This is a really good follow-up to the Creed movies. Another good solid also when it comes to other legacy sequels, I think the Creed movies are actually really good. Like they have stayed pretty good. Like, you know, there hasn't been like that much of a dip in quality or anything like that. Like with other stuff like Star Wars or you know what I mean, like with Star Wars or Terminator or any other like franchise nowadays that gets screwed up by Hollywood. This has been pretty good. They haven't gotten like messed up, you know what I mean? These movies have stayed faithful to the original franchise. They've honored the original franchise instead of ruining it. Yeah, so these sequels are pretty good. Another solid entry in the Rocky franchise. So what did y'all think of this movie? Did y'all enjoy this movie? Did you like this movie? Make sure to let me know in the comments. I'd love to know. Did y'all like Creed 3? I'd love to know. I like this movie a lot. Definitely would recommend it if you like the rest of the Rocky movies. If you like the Creed movies, would definitely recommend this one. A lot of people might be thinking, well, it doesn't have Stallone, so it's gonna ruin the Rocky franchise. That's not true. It's a passing the torch movie, you know? You got to pass the torch. You cannot pass the torch and still hold on to it. You got to let it go. You know, and I feel like this movie is perfect at doing that. Overall, great film. I loved it. Overall, great film. Also, this was Michael Jordan's first movie, first directed movie, first his directorial debut. Great first movie, not gonna lie. But yeah, what did y'all think of this movie? I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. Solid entry in the Rocky series. Uh, Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this review and you want to see more, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe. I do movie reviews, movie retrospectives, TV stuff, all that good stuff. I do it all on my channel, so I'd appreciate a sub if you're interested in that. Thank you guys so much for watching. God bless you guys, and I'll see you all next time.